Hey, Sox fans, welcome to episode 192. This is Good Guys Talk Back, and we are a fan-centric Chicago White Sox podcast. You can find this podcast absolutely everywhere. I am Nick Morawski, and really appreciate you joining us for some off-season White Sox chatter. We are on Twitter at Good Guys TB. We've got a Facebook fan page. And you can also watch us on YouTube. Just search Good Guys Talk Back. Subscribe, pass it along, all of that great stuff. So much to get to. Some more wonderful rumors and checking in on the MLB playoffs. With one team has advanced. We're recording as the Houston Astros might advance in the middle of this recording. Who knows? To break everything down, my co-host Pat Hester. Hello, sir.
Hey, friend. I don't know if I can bring it down. I'm not credentialed in any way, shape, or form. I don't get any
Lord.
high price stars, with interviews and that kind of thing. But I'm excited to talk to you. I have a ton of Phillies envy right now. Ton of Phillies envy, and I can't get over it. I'm watching Schwarber hit home runs, thinking, that what could have been there. We would have had the worst outfield in the history known to man. I see Castellanos doing things. I see Bryce Harper doing things. I see all the team I thought I would see in the South Side in the Phillies. I mean, there's just a lot of things to like about the Philadelphia Phillies right now. A team that was struggling for most of the first half of the year. They made the decision to get rid of Joe Girardi, and their team took a different path and went on a different trajectory. And now look at where they're at. And you see what happened to the White Sox, standing pat. And then standing pat in terms of in the offseason too, and not signing the guys that we could have signed, right? Just for money, could have filled the needs, and decided not to.
Yeah, it's this might be one of the first times that we have ever started talking about another team to lead off the show, but they are a fun team to watch. Just a few hours before we started recording this episode 192, Phillies clinched the NL pennant. They're on their way to the World Series, first time since 2009, and it's loaded with a bunch of players that had some connections here and there to the Chicago White Sox during the last few off seasons. And yeah, as you mentioned, let's start with the managerial situation. I mean, Girardi, they were floundering. They just weren't living up to what the front office thought in terms of expectations, and he gets canned. And not only are they surviving, but they are absolutely thriving. And it's one of the many different little threads that you can follow as a White Sox fan that gets you so riled up. I'm with you, man. I am excited for this Phillies team because of what there's in ways that we thought the Guardians that were going to show the Sox front office of how things should be done. I feel like the Phillies are doing that. It's like, hey, look at what we did. Look at what we did from Dave Dombrowski to, and I know, hey, nothing's happening until Jerry is gone. But Phillies owner doing it the right way. I've got money to burn and I want championships.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Nick. And as you're talking, I keep thinking to myself of, not even just the people that are on Twitter, but people I've talked to. And when we bring up the, what could have been, the miss on the Harper, the, not going after Schwarber harder, not going after Castellanos, all that stuff, even the Machado on the other side of the field and all that stuff, people will say, get over it. You have to stop living in the past. It didn't happen. But I almost want to say, no, we have to hold on to those types of things because not that maybe it doesn't add up to a hill of beans, but we really do need to hold this organization accountable. We, the fans, have to demand more from our owners in this town, not just of the White Sox, but every owner. We have to demand more of the product that we buy, right? And not just say, well, that happened and continue to take the shit that they shovel out to us. We should be tired of it and our voices should be heard. And I don't want to let it go because I want to remind them, listen, this is exactly what you let pass by. You let another year be wasted. you had a core of some really good players and you didn't fill in around it. You just hoped and prayed that people would continue to stay healthy and then you'd catch lightning in a bottle with a couple signings here or there. That doesn't work in Major League Baseball. It doesn't work in most sports. When you don't fill your roster with as many stars as humanly possible, your chances of winning are going to be limited. They really are.
Yeah, and Phillies are what, a wild card team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a lot of folks gave them a chance at all with some of the power teams that were coming out of the NL, namely the Dodgers. And here they are going to the World Series. And I'm happy for Bryce Harper. I really am. It's tough to watch it, but good for the Phillies, man. They did it the right way. They spent premium money for premium talent. They went after guys that they needed to fill holes, and not just any guys, but quality players. I mean, how many times were you just foaming at the mouth? Cannot wait for Castellanos. I
Yeah.
remember us recording over the years, I feel like. And that was another name that we would talk about. We used to talk about Schwarber, this past
Mm-hmm.
offseason. I could have seen definitely a path where that we needed the lefty bat,
Yeah.
boy, especially DH. And, he has played in the outfield quite a bit in the postseason. And it couldn't have been more of an upgrade from Jimenez.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on and on. The Wheeler thing, I get. It was his girlfriend or wife just said no to Chicago to the White Sox, who offered I think a pretty nice
They offered
deal.
more. They offered more, and they said no. So what can you do?
Yeah,
Somebody
that
doesn't
one,
want your money. I mean, there's
right?
that one is just purely the player didn't want to be here, and there's not much you can do about that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like I get it. We've got to move on. But to just be reminded of, hey, there are other organizations out there that are doing it the right way,
Mm-hmm.
and it is pretty sickening. And
Yeah.
to have what happened then on Friday, earlier this weekend, with the canceling of SoxFest, and then you're seeing, the Phillies advance and everything. And this has been a tough weekend, I think. And
Yeah.
I know you haven't attended SoxFest quite a bit at all. It's not something that you've been, loyal to or circle it on your calendar, but it's more of the theory or the principle of it being canceled and not happening that's really gotten me really hot.
Well, what do you have any conspiracy theories of why? I mean, there were all that was said was there was a number of reasons of why that we weren't they weren't going to have it this year. I just can't understand what those reasons could be. Have other teams decided this already? Have the Cubs decided not to have Cubs Fest this year? I know I don't. Obviously, the season just started, but I know the Hawks have a fan fest every year. I'm sure it was still too close to COVID for them to have one this past year. I would wonder if other teams in town are going away from their fan fests and connecting with their fans, or the Sox just worried about facing the music, because they always would have the town hall, right? That would be part of
Correct.
like the run of show is it's going to be to have the town hall type of situation where you've got Jerry and Rick. I don't know if Jerry was there, but you have Kenny and Rick, and
Oh, Jerry's not there.
that Jerry's not
Jerry's
there.
not there. No.
But you'd have those guys and they'd be answering questions, right? Or it'd be like a panel situation,
Sure.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're right on. So the Cubs are having theirs. That's what
Okay.
also is such a bitter pill to swallow here. The Cubs are having their fan fest, and this will be the third year in the row where there hasn't been a Sox Fest. And I mean, yeah, I've got theories. You understood the last couple of years because of COVID, and all right, I understand there's still all these limitations and you're unsure, and you have to book these venues, I would imagine, months if not a year in
Mm-hmm.
advance.
Oh yeah.
Hey, this is the vendors, this is, there's a lot of different moving parts for this to happen. All the publicity, all the hype, all of the packages that they want to sell, the hotel stuff, you get all these different amenities if you want to do the 3-day or if you just want to do the 2-day, committing, different players in their schedules. Yeah, my initial reaction is that is really, it's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic because of the way that this season went. It was an embarrassment, underperforming, this, that, and the other. You are going to deny fans the opportunity to get together and just rub shoulders with like-minded people in the dead of winter, even after such a horrible season, as we anticipate spring training where there's a clean slate and anything can happen in 2023. And I think of it as, well, this is all Reinsdorf. You chanted "Fire Tony." You held signs that said "Sell the team." So for that, here's your penance. No SoxFest. I mean,
do we have to say 2 Hail Marys and a
I
couple
mean,
Our Fathers too?
it just is ridiculous. Now, if you are, and boy, I was at the 2017 SoxFest. This was, just a couple months after Chris Sale was traded and Ricky Renteria was hired. And finally, the White Sox have chosen a path. And I'll tell you what, that place was jam-packed. That town hall was almost, it was standing room only. Rick Hahn was getting, cheers. I mean, people had the Hahn in Hahn We Trust shirts. I mean, what a difference it has been now in the last 4 or 5 years. And I'm listening to Ricky Renteria, and you'd almost want to run through a wall after he spoke. He really sold himself to me on his plan and what he wanted to do. It was an exciting time. It was an absolutely exciting time. And the last one that they have had was the 2020 Sox Fest. And that was, of course, after Yasmani Grandal was signed and Dallas Keuchel. And, there was a lot of excitement. Luis Robert is probably going to play in a full season. And so if you don't want to have the Q&A, where you have people go up to microphones and ask questions to Rick Hahn, to management, what have you, then do away with that. And just have the fest so fans can get together, and just celebrate this organization, because they are a fan for the most part of the organization, not the morons that run it behind the scenes. That is not, I don't, if you get what I'm saying with that.
No,
So,
I 100% agree. If you're going to have like a Q&A, have it with like some of the greats that have worn a White Sox uniform. Let fans actually interact with the people that they care about, which are the players and the players that
have your ambassadors. Sure.
Those are the people that you set up a Q&A in a town hall with. And,
Here's Pat. I got sorry to interrupt, but I got a great
go
idea for you. Okay. 2023 is going to be an anniversary, a big anniversary of the 1993 Chicago White Sox team, a 30-year anniversary. Why not have, Blackjack McDowell, have Lance Johnson, have Bo Jackson, have Tim Raines, have some of those guys, depending on their relationship with the team right now, have some of those guys back, and that's your panel. And do away with the whole letting anybody get up in front of a microphone to yell at. No one wants it. I get that.
Yeah.
But, just to do away with the whole thing and the several factors that the White Sox name, give me a break. I mean,
did they name any? I just heard several factors. Did they actually give the factors?
No, not at all. I can read you the actual statement. Here's the statement from the Chicago White Sox. Due to several factors, SoxFest 2023 will not be held this January. We recognize our fans may be disappointed the event will not take place. Please check back throughout the 2023 baseball season for updates regarding future plans. If you could be any more vague, I don't know how you would.
And at the bottom it says, for season tickets, please call.
Change the game.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, what I mean, the obvious several factors honestly, are like scheduling issues. Like, I mean, they couldn't come to a deal on the space. I don't know.
I think if they make the playoff, regardless of what would have had them, if they would have made the playoffs this year, they would have moved heaven and earth to have a Sox Fest, because that's just, I'm sure there's some type of revenue that the White Sox are pulling in from that of some sort. There's a revenue making opportunity. You don't just walk away from that. So I think it's just you said it. There's a lot of ill will right now between the brass and the fans, and maybe they just didn't want to work that hard to make it happen for the fans. I'm not saying they did it and just pulled the rug out from underneath White Sox fans and said you were naughty, so you're not going to have it. I think it's like, you know what? It wasn't that great of a year. We didn't love how it ended. We're still in a manager search. I would hope by then we would have a manager in February. I think a manager would be in place, but maybe they just don't want to deal with all that, Nick.
But I get that, but they have had it after some bad years.
I understand that. I understand that. I think it's very curious. I'm sure what I just said isn't even remotely true, but I do think that if it had been a winning season in terms of, not just the record, but at least making the playoffs for the third straight year, you can sell a lot of that, and you can create some hype into the the winter season and going into spring. I just, maybe they just didn't feel 100% motivated to do it again. I don't know. And will they do it again? Maybe they figure, well, we've gotten away with not doing it 3 years in a row. Do we have to do this event anymore? And I would say that's a pretty slippery slope. And in terms of an organization that is always thirsting to try and grab fans in a sport that is losing fans at a rapid pace, I don't think you can just not have these events where you can interact with your fan base.
Yeah, I have started to notice, though, over the last few years, that certain events have begun to be removed. Like Dollar Hot Dog Wednesday, huge fan draw, gone. There was that first reasoning because of COVID. Like, why isn't it coming back this year? You've had bring your dog to the game. Other ballparks have brought that back. That has not been around. Huge fan opportunity. People loving that.
I know that was one of your favorite nights.
Well, I never got an opportunity to do it.
Oh, I know, but you would go there just to hang out with other people's dogs. Let them lick your face, drink water out of your mouth.
I have been there accidentally on dog day, and that was a mistake.
That was like heaven on earth for you.
Yeah, no fireworks those nights for obvious reasons. And then the garage sale event, which is always a fun event. And, they used to have it in the winter and they used to have it in the summertime. And I don't see it anywhere on the schedule for this winter, which was always a fun, it's easy holiday shopping.
Yeah.
A lot of gifts, like under a certain amount. And that is a money grab there too. Like, I know it goes to White Sox charities, but still there's also, merchandise they used to open up, the depot, Sports Depot, it's like, well, you're here for the garage sale. You might as well come on in and spend a ton of money on sweatshirts and other items. So that I haven't seen that. We know what kind of parking situation and all the lines and the inability to figure that out. You know what I'm getting at here? I seem to feel like the last few years, it's like Jerry being like, I'm done. I am absolutely done trying to make this as enjoyable as I wanted it to be.
Yeah, let's just do the simplest thing we can do, which is turn the lights on day one, and hopefully we turn them off on game 162.
Now, here's a conspiracy theory, because we've all heard now from NBC Sports Chicago that Ozzie Guillen is going to be interviewed this week. It's not only a rumor. I mean, if NBC Sports Chicago is saying it, and we know what Guillen has said towards the end of the season. He said, it's not in my plans. I don't know if it's in the White Sox plans. Even if they think I can help them for next year, I'm very open to listening. Nobody in baseball knows this ball club better than Ozzie Guillen. You want to talk about a fan fest erupting? You bring Ozzie Guillen back as manager, or if you feel like there is a chasm a deep divide, something going on between ownership and fans. Jerry says, I can mend this quickly and I can bring Ozzie Guillen back in. Is that the right decision? I honestly, I think there needs to maybe be a different direction.
Mhm.
But it would energize a large population of the White Sox fan base if Ozzie Guillen was named manager. So you would assume you would know that ahead of time, that what you're going to do. But again, you just can't all of a sudden like say there's going to be no fan fest in late October, because guess what? You weren't going to be able to put one together at this time anyway. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you're just announcing it now, but that decision was made a long time ago that you weren't going to go through with it, I think.
Yeah. No, you're right there, Nick. I mean, it just all seems curious. And going back to the obvious or the Ozzy thing, that's I think it's bizarre because in the same day, there's all these tweets coming out that Espada will be
Yeah.
named manager uh, soon, which is weird
It
because
was a
that series
crazy
is still going
Friday.
on, and then you've got the Ozzy being interviewed, which again, who knows with all these sources and what's real and what's not real. Again, my thought on it. If it's not coming from Bob Nightingale, it's probably not realistic right now in terms of a Sox rumor. So I'm waiting for that to happen until I believe anything. I just don't know why you would even entertain. Why are you entertaining him to come in and interview if you don't have intentions on hiring him? I don't know what do you, first of all, what do you need to interview him for? What don't you already know about Ozzie Guillen? He's still close enough to this
Well,
organization.
I think what you could do is you could possibly sit him down and you could kind of go over, the roster, and just like, how would you have done things differently? Or what are your thoughts on this roster that we have right now? And what are your thoughts on like pieces that we need to move forward? Like, what do you think truly happened with this team this past year? Well, what were they lacking? What could you have provided? Um, Not necessarily giving a report card on how every player did, but how would you have handled the situation? You watched it on a daily basis. How would you do things differently maybe this time around? Like, who are people you would like to bring in as your coaching staff? I don't know. It is odd though, right? It's
Yeah.
really odd when you know someone so well and they are still connected to the organization and you're bringing them in. Like, how does that go?
Again, I just don't see any. I think it's a little bit. Is it disingenuous to do all this and to ask him his thoughts and then not really have him as a real consider. You're not really considering him. I just.
Well, look at what
I mean,
happened
he's
last time in
yeah.
2020. From what we're told, Reinsdorf called Guillen personally because there was a lot of smoke that
Hmm.
this could be Guillen's time to come back. If there was ever a time, it's going to be now. Guillen's going to save the day here, and he got a call personally, I think, from
Yeah,
Reinsdorf
he
and
did.
said, it's not going to be you. This isn't happening. Like, and then I think he told Guillen, like, it's Tony La Russa, and
Hmm.
Guillen, I think, was disappointed from his test, like from what he has said, disappointed that it wasn't going to be him, but like, wow, okay, you got like the absolute legend. You got the person that, there's no way I can compete with Tony La Russa. Okay. Well, that didn't happen this time around, I guess. He didn't get nope, not even, this is not even going to happen. He got yeah, come on in for an interview. So that to me tells me that there's something then. There's something really there.
I, I I'd rather I'd rather have him like as a special advisor. Like a assistant to the traveling secretary, who also is the assistant to Jerry Reinsdorf. Like he has Jerry's ear. Like, okay, this is really dumb. We shouldn't do that. Like if you respect him that much, kick him up
Hmm.
in the front office or something to have like a dissenting voice with a Kenny Williams. so we can kind of hold some people
Can you
accountable.
see those guys in the same
I
room?
think, you know
Kenny
what?
Williams and
I would
Ozzie
love to
Guillen.
see that. I
That's a
would pay.
reality
That's
show.
better than the games. Can we sell tickets to that to watch that meeting happen? I don't
Oh,
know,
man.
Nick. I just feel bad for one of our favorite players. Obviously, he holds a special place in all of White Sox fans' hearts in terms of bringing a world championship here, to be led astray, to bring in to do an interview that he really doesn't maybe even have a shot to get. And again, I don't know what he's going to be able to say in there that's going to really wow anybody. He's put his whole interview on tape from, game 1 to game 162 in terms of what he thought, what he would have done. There's no secrets there. You don't have to ask him anything. If you've watched any of your post game shows or any of your pregame shows, you know where Ozzie stands on this stuff, and you have all you need in terms of what kind of manager he is from when he was in the dugout with you. So I just don't understand it. If you wanted to hire him, hire him.
Yeah. You're right. It is really bizarre. I don't know what to make of it. And again, this came after we got this report from a Mike Rodriguez on Twitter, who is an MLB insider, according to his profile, broadcaster and former analyst for the Chicago Cubs in Spanish. And he's been on stuff before on social media, like with reports. And, this Rodriguez, he came out and he had this statement that was posted everywhere else on social media, and people contacting one another. And did you hear this? Joe Espada will be the next manager of the Chicago White Sox. There was no mincing. And you then had other accounts, as we talked about in last episode, certain food accounts, a lot of people scrambling to either confirm or deny that. And then, the Marlins seem to be still in the mix. I mean, there's some stuff going around Twitter today from Marlins outlets, saying, hey, Joe Espada should be the Marlins' number one choice. This should be their guy. They should not hesitate. But there seems to be some concern from folks in the Marlins organization that the White Sox are actually, probably in a better situation, and it's a more attractive job, perhaps, even though I think Espada lives out in that area.
It's all just bizarre. And again, tell me when Brown's Chicken and Pasqua has the story when it drops from that Twitter handle.
What was your other one? Brown's Chicken and Pasta.
Oh, 588-2300 Ed Farmer.
There's just there's no shortage of, I got it, and this is it, and this is happening, and it's tough to follow, but we want the info so bad, because this is how we get things. This is how the White Sox do things. They sprinkle things to Bob Nightingale, and they're like, you put this out. I'm not getting in front of a camera. I'm not putting out a statement. They're not going to hear it from me. We'll drop these little crumbs to folks that aren't even local reporters. It's crazy.
Yeah,
absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and the beat goes on, and it'll be interesting to see what happens as as this series with the Astros and the Yankees wraps up. If there'll be any kind of announcement in between the World Series and the ALCS, or if all things will be taken care of after the World Series concludes. I don't suspect any kind of announcements happening during the World Series. Teams, regardless if it's with Espada or not, usually teams stay away from making any kind of news during the World Series. So if it doesn't happen in between that, we just have to wait, Nick, and we can continue to read Twitter, read articles, and just assume that we know better than anybody else. And we'll just have to wait just like the rest of the world.
Yeah, I will say that I will go down some different rabbit holes, trying to follow different stories, and because it makes for interesting conversation, and I think it's sometimes when something does officially happen, you can go back and you could say, okay, well, this is where people were leaning, or this is what they were reporting. But I was pretty surprised when I heard the Guillen was going to be interviewed. I really was. Because it
Could Ian
just,
do like double duty? Can he do the pre and post and manage?
well, he is such a draw on pre
I
and
know.
post. I mean,
I
he's such
know.
a draw. That's like, why hide him in the front office, duking it out with Kenny Williams when he is? But that would be, the other awkward thing is like, here's a guy that, over the last several years has absolutely made it known he wants to get back and
Mhm.
manage the Chicago White Sox. And for him to be brought in, interviewed, and denied another time, it's got to be weird to then go to the
Yeah.
pre and post, just,
Yeah.
I mean, are they disguising the interview as more of a meeting of like, this is who we are hiring, but now that we have you here, we kind of want to tell you, like, this is how we would like you to operate, when so and so makes a difficult call, we can't have you, you know going crazy on them.
Well, that would be unfortunate. And that would go against everything that has made that, that part of watching White Sox baseball enjoyable and what people tune in for, because they know that Ozzie is going to be, speak for the people. Right. And he, and usually is of the like mind of the fans, and he doesn't hold back. And he knows that there's a lot of BS that's being sprung. So, I don't know. It would be interesting. Again, it would be fun. It would be a roller coaster. But I would, like I was telling you, and I've said on this show, and I've said to people at work and friends and family, if you hire Ozzie Guillen, you better plan on hiring somebody else in 3 or 4 years, because it's going to be a short stint. He's going to get himself fired again. He's going to say something wrong. The world has not gotten any less PC. He'll slip up, and they'll have to hold him accountable, and he'll be gone. So you better win within the next couple of years if that's who you're bringing in, because it's just not going to last long, Nick. And you and I know that he's not. He doesn't have a long shelf life.
It's 0 to 60. I would say it would really be 0 to 60. Um, I would, again, like, going back to my SoxFest kind of comment, and if you really feel like you have lost the fans, then then Jerry makes another move and says, you know what, then let's go this route. Like, if we're losing, if we're hemorrhaging season ticket holders and people are not happy, this is how I know we'll get people back. I absolutely know. And then there'll be a large population that'll be angry, confused, like, why are we going backwards? But I think more than we realize, they would be pro Ozzie Guillen.
Hmm.
I do. Just taking the temperature of other fans and talking to folks, throughout not only this season, but in the short off season that it's been, I've gotten the sense that there is a huge desire to have Ozzie Guillen back. We
Uh,
just don't see it on a regular basis, you and
yeah.
I.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Again, you always want what you know, right? And you know that has worked, and you feel it's the warm and fuzzy feelings, and you want the opposite of what you just had. You want someone with a little bit of fire and excitement, a little bit younger, a little bit more, a little edgier, and you feel like that Ozzie would hold his players accountable. You would, at least that's what you would think, and that's what we've been lacking for the last 2+ years. So you go, okay, that checks a lot of boxes for me. I know this guy. I don't have to try and figure it out with him, and how he's going to manage the game and how he's going to do this or that or use his players. You kind of go, okay, I've been there, done that. I've seen that before. Most of it was really good and positive. Let's run that back again. You can get me on board for that. And to be honest with you, Nick, you could probably get me on board for that too. I'm just in the mode of, like I said, I'm in the mode of something different. I need somebody that's going
Mm-hmm.
to come in from outside the organization, that's going to be able to look the organization in the face and say, if I'm going to be the manager of this ball club, this is how we're going to run things, and this is how I would do this and this, and these are the people that I would hire in these spots, and that's what we need. If I'm going to be hired, that's what I need to have happen. I just don't know if Ozzie, though he says, he's his own man and this and that, he's still very loyal to Jerry Reinsdorf and vice versa. They're loyal to each other. He's got a very, from what I've heard and seen him talk about, it's almost like father-son type of relationship. So it's very, very hard to go and have a dissenting voice to him. He might be able to do it to Kenny, he might be able to do it to Rick, but it would be hard, I think, for Ozzie to have that much of a dissenting voice with Jerry Reinsdorf.
And that wouldn't be a Hahn or Williams hire at all.
No.
I feel like that would be Reinsdorf trying to serve two masters, trying to, maybe, mend a fence that things went wrong after the 2011 season. And I want to still have control, but I'm also going to put in somebody that is a fan favorite. So I've got someone that's kind of loyal to me, but also the fans will get back on the organization's side for the most part. Obviously, not everybody. You're not gonna please everybody.
How many times can people get rehired by Jerry Reinsdorf that he feels like he's been wrong, that he's wronged? Is there a list of people that are just showing up going, you've also wronged me back in the day. I'd like a job, please.
If you feel you've been wronged by Jerry Reinsdorf, fill out this form. I don't know, man. One guy that will not be a Chicago White Sox manager is Bruce Bochy. He was hired by the Texas Rangers also on Friday. Friday was a crazy day with a lot of stuff going on. And Bochy was an odds favorite a couple weeks ago. Odds makers were loving Bruce Bochy going to the White Sox. So here came the Rangers, and it's hey, nothing against Bochy. He's a winner. He's only been out of the game for a couple of years. I wouldn't have been surprised if he was named White Sox manager, but I'm glad they went in a different direction.
Bochy, somebody told me his record with San Francisco, though he had the 3 world championships, he was a 500 manager, which he would have been perfect for us.
Right. That's maybe actually
right
why
up
he was
our alley. I couldn't even believe it. This person told me that. I'd never looked it up or fact checked it. I just assume when people tell me things that they're telling me the truth.
That's the right way to do it.
I can't, but I'll take it. If you're going to tell me that Bruce Bochy is going to be your manager for 6 years, you're going to have a 500 record, but you're going to have 3 World Series.
Sure,
okay,
who cares?
I'll take that. But yeah, good for Bruce Bochy. I'm looking for, I'm kind of in that mode of next up and coming, like hot manager type, like a little bit younger, a little bit more in tune with today's game, a little less red ass type of old man in the room type of guy. I'm more into this little bit younger, hipper type of manager. How's that?
I've always known you to be into the young hip stuff and what's going on. You seem to
yes.
always have your finger on the pulse of what's happening.
You know me, baby.
Well, would you like Espada? Is I guess what I'm getting at here is he now creeped into like everything you've heard now, and
everything you again. I like guys that come from organizations that have won recently, regardless of what you think about the Astros. He came in after the Astros cheating scandal. Not that really that makes a lot of a difference to me anyway. I don't really care if you can motivate people and you know what you're doing and you can make good moves. I could care less if you came from an organization that cheated. So I'd like to think that he's had a good hand in helping Dusty Baker over the last couple of years, and they've had a lot of great success. Now, Nick, you're only as good as the talent on the field. So again, can you make up a lineup? Can you make the right pitching moves when they need to be made? And can you motivate people and get them to want to run through a wall for you? That's what I really need from a manager. If you can do those types of things, and again, hit your layups. Don't try and outthink yourself and outmanage yourself. Right? Go with what you think is right, but don't try and be too cute and try and outthink the world here. It is just baseball after all.
Yeah, and the Phillies really showed it. They're playing fun baseball. They're playing team baseball. It's exciting. As we record here on October 23rd, this is the 17-year anniversary of the big Paul Konerko Grand Slam in Game 2 of the 2005 World Series. Of course, Scotty Pods had the walk-off. beat Houston 7-6. The next time we record, we will miss the actual anniversary of the Sox winning the World Series and taking down the Houston Astros in 4 straight games. Again, we bring it up. We remember it because it actually happened. I do like to reflect on it every year around this time and think back to where I was for each game, who I watched it with, and then just those emotions, those feelings, everything that poured into the off season. And you better believe I was at SoxFest January 2006, and it was just, I mean, people were in tears. People were crying, as people shared their story. You want to talk about a town hall that really was wonderful. That was 2006. People coming up to the microphone and thanking that panel, the Kenny Williams, the Guillen, and beyond, for what happened and like how that affected them, their family, and everything. So this week here is these anniversaries of the 2005 World Series occur. I don't know. I will be thinking about that, and that was a special time for SoxFest. And I don't think you should just simply limit it to, well, if it was good, let's have a festival. I think you got to ride the wave.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, Nick. And I always enjoy this week and long for these memories to happen more frequently when we can talk about not just one season that we look so fondly upon, but many, many others. And, I'll always think about that 2005 season and that October as gut-wrenching and the most uncomfortable I've ever been in my entire life, and the most joy that I had felt up until that point in my life, really. I mean, nothing could replace it. I was not married yet. I had no kids. So that was all I had. For me, that was all I had was that moment. I mean, I shouldn't say it that way. I had a wonderful life at that point. I wasn't living on the streets, but that was really the biggest joy and thrill of my entire life.
I get it.
Was that moment. And still, I remember as Canerico caught the ball for the final out. I still couldn't believe it. I had to look to others to my left and to my right and ask people if I saw what I really saw. Did that really just happen? I still couldn't believe it.
It was a magical run. 11
and thank God for
there
was no replay because I really think he was safe. But either way, we won.
Yeah.
So
11-1 during that postseason, and the Houston Astros are knocking on the door. Unfortunately, they're a buzzsaw right now in this postseason. But that was such a fun team throughout the year and fun postseason where. And in a weird way, I was kind of disappointed when it was over. It was like, of course, I absolutely love. We got it. We no one will ever take this away from us. But I wish there was more. I wanted to continue to watch this team. But if you lose a game here and there, you never know what was going to happen. Some of those were tight games. And so hey, again. Celebrate if you do celebrate. Remember, 17 years ago, we were on top of the world. Even though there are a lot of folks that don't remember it and won't report it, and won't announce it. It happened. It really happened.
And that's why you have to retweet the videos when they come out. It, tell your stories, and tell your kids. Right?
Yeah,
that's absolutely. That's how you rock Vinny to bed, as you tell them. There was a time long ago.
Yeah, I'm going to start putting those DVDs in, although I'll have to get a DVD player to start playing some of those for him later in life, of course. Pat, always a pleasure, my friend, trying to make sense of what in the world is going on with this team that we absolutely love.
Hey, Nick, it was a blast as always. By the next time we record, will be on the eve of Halloween. Will we have a new manager before we record next? What do you think?
No, I don't think we will.
So we're still going to be talking about rumors and what could happen and maybes and following, Portillo's beef sandwich guy.com. Awesome.
It should be a scary episode for sure. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was. Why did we have to? You can edit that out, right? Take
I
that
can.
joke out.
Yeah,
All
I
right, buddy.
can.
It was great to talk to you.
Yeah.
Let's hope that we have some good news by the next time, and maybe we'll talk about a SoxFest 2029.
Mm-hmm. Pat, always a pleasure, buddy. Folks, really appreciate you spending time with us. You can find this podcast absolutely everywhere you find your podcast. Pass it along to other Sox fans in your life. Also, check us out on YouTube. Just search Good Guys Talk Back, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. We're on Twitter at Good Guys TB. We've got a Facebook fan page. It's a never a dull moment in the off season. Hopefully, better days are ahead for this White Sox team. For Pat Hester, I am Nick Morawski. Until next time, go Sox.